Hello everyone. Thank you very much to Rob and Tony for inviting me to join you today. My name is Emily Cunningham. I'm the lead officer of the Local Government Association's Coastal Special Interest Group, or LGA Coastal SIG for short. We work on coastal issues on behalf of our membership of 57 local authorities from around England's coast, including on fishing and marine conservation. Nationally, we work closely with Rob and Tony at the Association of IFCAs, and many of our members are part of their local IFCA. So I'm honoured to have been asked to be part of this 10-year anniversary celebration today. And to start, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, to take a deep breath, and to think back to your first memory of the sea. Got it? Now relax into that memory, what you saw, what you heard, what you felt, maybe even what you smelt. And slowly come back to me. Now, one day, if we're ever in a room together, I would love to hear about that moment that you just remembered. But for now, if you'd like to, I invite you to share it with me on Twitter. I'm at EG_Cunningham. Now, my first memory of the sea was when I was about 8 years old. I grew up in the Midlands, pretty much as far away from the sea as you can get. But every year we went on holiday to Anglesey to stay with my auntie and uncle. That was the most fun week of the year, even better than Christmas. I got to see my cousins, and best of all, we got to go to the beach. So in the evenings, when it wasn't raining, being Wales, my dad and uncle would take us to a nearby cove and pretty much let us get on with it. We'd climb rocks, daring each other to go higher. We'd collect shells and sea glass for our mums back at home, enjoying some peace and quiet. We'd poke about in rock pools. We'd play, squabble, and invariably somebody would end up with a scraped knee or a bruised finger from a game gone wrong. But on that beach, with the cooling air sharp with salt, cliff tops carpeted with sea thrift, and the midsummer sky ablaze with orange and pink, I fell in love with the sea. Now, 10 years later, I was back on Anglesey and 6 months into my marine biology degree. I had joined the University Dive Club, and on Valentine's Day morning, I was about to step into the chilly waters of the Irish Sea for the first time, my first ever sea dive. Now, trussed up in my dry suit, I was giddy with excitement, fear, and sleep deprivation, having been awake for half the night worrying about becoming a dive fatality and wondering how I'd feel if I met a dolphin underwater tomorrow. Expectations may be artificially high, and after wading in with the elegance of a walrus, I remember dunking my masked face into the frigid waters of the Irish Sea in February and seeing nothing. The visibility was awful. I could barely see my own hand in front of my face. I ended up holding my dive instructor's hand for the entire dive, did the skills for my assessment, and then, on the swim back to shore, I saw a starfish. A real live starfish in the actual sea whilst I was breathing underwater. As I surfaced from the dive and lumbered out of the surf and onto the beach, my instructor apologised for it being such a rubbish first sea dive. "Are you kidding?" I remember shouting, probably a bit too loudly at his understandably confused face. I saw a starfish. Now, I don't wish to undersell our incredible marine environment and will state for the record that since then I've had the privilege of seeing and experiencing some amazing things underwater all around the UK. But I always make sure I remember that moment of pure magic when I saw my first starfish. And it was that moment that I knew my mission was to save the sea. I was going to go and work in marine conservation and protect the ocean. So in the years that followed my degree, I worked for an NGO, doing campaigns and policy and advocacy, trying to raise public and political awareness of our marine environment. When I first started, I thought I knew exactly what was needed to save the sea. I went to very important meetings with very important people, and I knew what the very important reports told me. But over time, it started to get a little fuzzy. And the light bulb moment for me happened when I was developing a new conservation project which aimed to get more people involved in taking care of their local waters. And as part of the development process, I took myself out of my NGO office and down to the actual coast and began talking to the people that lived, worked, and played there. So I had been thinking of the sea simply as the home of wildlife, because for me, that's what it was. I had thought that by opening people's eyes to the colourful nudibranchs and cute bobtail squids that we had in UK waters, they'd be as hooked as I was. But instead, in those conversations, I listened to what the sea meant to those other people. And it was where they laid their lobster pots, fished with their mates, swam with their kids, made their livelihoods, or made their happiest memories. It was a place where they were thriving, happy, home. And I also learned that those same people were already taking action to safeguard their local seas, fisheries, and marine wildlife, whether that was on their boats, on the shore, or in the committee meetings that we all know so very well. I learnt of the amazing work that IFCAs do all around England, ensuring local coastal communities are engaged in decisions that affect them and their patch. And it was during this learning that I realised how important those early formative experiences are. That I was taken to the beach as a child set me on my career path and laid the foundations for my relationship with the sea. And I wanted to protect the sea as a result of these formative experiences. But I understand now that how even though we might all see the sea through a slightly different lens, we ultimately all want the same thing, that our children and grandchildren will be able to enjoy our local waters and their benefits and their bounties. So the challenges that our seas and coastal communities face are significant. And only by bringing people with those different perspectives together can we ensure the right balance between social, economic and environmental benefits is struck. Now, much has been achieved over this past 10 years, of which I hope you are duly proud, but there is more and new work to do. So here, on World Ocean Day, the strapline for which is One Ocean, One Climate, One Future Together, I ask you all to consider how we can each play our part in creating that future we all want to see. Never has the need been greater for local voices to be heard in fisheries management decisions. And we have, in our hands, a once-in-a-generation chance to leverage the opportunities brought by the Fisheries Act to ensure both our coastal communities and our marine wildlife thrive in an independent United Kingdom. Few people appreciate the time, energy and dedication that your work takes. It's not easy and can often feel thankless. So, on behalf of my chairman, Councillor Ernest Gibson of South Tyneside Council, myself and all the members of the LGA Coastal SIG, I'd like to take this opportunity today to thank you all for the work that you do for your coastal areas and for all that Rob and Tony do as the national voice of IFCAs. We, the LGA Coastal SIG, we look forward to continuing to work with the Association of IFCAs as we move into the next 10 years and hopefully beyond. Onwards and upwards together. Thank you for listening.